This is our metals and aqueous solutions, and it's a virtual lab that we will be doing today. So here's your lab paper that you need to be filling out as you go through this, and follow it step by step and you will be just fine. So the very first thing, to find where we're going, type in metals and aqueous solutions in Google or your search engine. Here we have it. Very first one that pops up, that's when you click on. So go ahead and click on it, and this is your site. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking different metals and putting it in different solutions and looking at the chemical reactions that take place. So go ahead and start. Brings this up. Don't click the back button of the browser unless you want to quit the simulation. So keep that in mind. Alright, very first thing before you even get into activity 1, on your lab paper it says click on the beakers and observe the ions in the solutions. So very first one, what ions do you see in the MgNO3 solution? So back here with your magnifying glass, find the MgNO3 solution. Go ahead and click on it and it'll pull up and show you the different ions that are in here. So on this one you've got Mg and NO3 bouncing around. Okay, so on your paper, which ions do you see? Mg and NO3. I went ahead and wrote them down for you. How many of each one are present? Count them up. You've got 1, 2 Mg ions floating around, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 NO3s floating around. So on your paper, tell me how many of those you have. Those you have. Do the same thing. Find the AgNO3 solution, ZnNO3 solution. What ions are in there? How many of them are in each of them? All right, now scroll down. You're going to start the very first activity. On here you've got this data table. Record your observations, include colors of solutions, and whether the metal gets atoms added or removed from it. If nothing happens, write NR for no reaction. So come right here, activity 1. Okay, you're going to be taking each of these metals. Click the mouse to pick a metal and test its reactions in the solutions. You're going to stick each one of those in the solution and see what happens. So on here it says click here to place the metals in the solutions. Click it, stick it in, wait for the reaction to happen. When it's done, it'll tell you. Click here to remove them, and then write what you saw. So Mg placed in the MgNO3 solution. There was no reaction, nothing happened. Next one, you might say atoms were added, it got bigger, it turned a dark gray color. Next one, it turned an orangish copper color, got bigger. Next one, a light gray color, it also got bigger. So on your paper, Mg placed in this one and no reaction. Tell what happened in each of those. Okay? Now, you'll do the same thing for each of these other pieces of metal. So copper, stick them in, wait for the reaction to happen. Once it's done, remove it. Write your reactions down in your table. Now on your paper, it says for at least one reaction, just go down so you can see it, write an explanation of what you saw happen at the molecular level. So pick a reaction where something happens. Let's say in the Mg placed in the AgNO3 solution, you saw a reaction. To find out what actually happened, if you come right here, molecular scale reactions, click on that. Ag or Mg placed in the AgNO3 solution. Push start. Okay, close. And it'll show you on a molecular scale what's happening. So if you come to the step-by-step, it tells you the electrons are transferred directly from an Mg atom to 2 Ag ions. So on your paper you would write electrons are transferred from Mg atoms to 2 Ag ions. If you want to start, it'll walk you through exactly step-by-step what's happening and why it happened, which is a really cool explanation and gives you the chemical equations for everything also. Next step, why it's happening, what went on, and there you go. So go back and on your paper For one of those, just explain what molecularly happened. Okay, now activity 2. You're going to do the same thing. So if you come back here, home. Oh, not home. Okay. Okay, so your activity 2 right here. Okay, place each of these in the solutions, record your findings. For at least one reaction, write an explanation of what you saw at the molecular level. Once again, activity 3, look at the large scale, find out what happens if you put iron in each of these, lead, okay, so forth in each of these solutions. For at least one reaction, explain what you saw on the molecular level. Now for activity 4, test the metal in hydrochloric acid. For at least one, record what happened at the molecular level. So let me come right here to activity 4. This one, use the mouse to click the metal, then click start button to show the reaction. So here's your silver. Start, it places it in hydrochloric acid. Once it's finished, it'll say remove. Go ahead and remove it. Record what happened. If nothing happened, like in this one, write NR for no reaction. Okay, let's come down to one of these ones. Start. Notice it starts to give off bubbles, so write down. Slowly gives off bubbles. The metal got smaller. Okay, so write that down in the reaction. So Ag, nothing happened. Okay, for iron, gave off bubbles, slowly got smaller. For each one, explain what you saw, what you observed. Based on those observations, okay, for conclusion, list the metals in order from most reactive to least reactive. Now, most reactive, you're going to find out some of these metals have a lot of bubbles given off. They get small really fast. Some only have a few bubbles given off. Some have no bubbles, like up here. So the ones that have no reaction are going to be the least reactive. The ones that have a lot of bubbles given off, they're going to be the most reactive. So base them in order from most reactive to least reactive. And then finish down here, write a balanced chemical equation for a single replacement reaction between copper and AgNO3. What evidences do you see that indicates chemical change has taken place? List at least 2. What were you looking at? How did you know something happened? So that is your virtual lab. Go through, make sure you understand how to do those, and you should be set.